Tonight, we honor a self-made millionaire. He started with nothing, worked hard, and made a fortune. That man is Fred Trump, Donald's dad. But even when you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, hard times can strike, and that's just what happened to Donald. He was even forced into the ultimate act of degradation, starring in his own reality show. And soon, the top-rated TV show in the nation starred a total torturing people who were stupid enough to work with him. In addition to 2.5 Men, The Apprentice was also a pretty popular show. This guy has an ego. When Trump bangs a supermodel, he closes his eyes and imagines he's off.
Hello. In the traditional motion picture story, the villains are usually defeated. The ending is a happy one. I can make no such promise for the picture you're about to watch.
Honestly, what they say doesn't bother me. I understand we've got an adversarial system. I'm a mellow sort of guy. And that's why I invited Luther, my anger translator, to join me here tonight.
Hold on to your lily white butts.
Let us pledge to each other, with this great lady looking on, that we can, and so help us God, we will make America great again. Thank you very much.
And we will make America great again. God bless you and good night. I love you. Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
He's a man with few limits, never following the real estate rules. He shocked many when he negotiated a 40-year tax abatement for this hotel.
People would say, how did you get 40 years? I said, because I didn't ask for 50.
How do you see the thing? How are we going to get out of this?
Well, Johnny, I think that one of the things is that people keep looking to government for the answer, and government's the problem. A moment ago, you asked, about people and feeling not only confused, but low and down in America. First of all, the American people, if they would just take a little inventory and look around, you triple our troubles, and we're better off than any other people on earth. And we've asked so much of government, and we've gotten in the habit over the last 40 years of thinking that government has the answers. There's very little that government can do as efficiently and as economically as the people can do themselves. And if government would shut the doors and sneak away for about 3 weeks, we'd never miss them. Now, if the people want to
Anybody you had in mind particularly?
That relentless desire to win made his name a modern synonym for success and celebrity in his own right, authoring best-selling books, making cameos in movies.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
On television.
I can tell you what, you want another 50 grand, I cut the grass for you every Saturday.
Even commercials.
We eat our pizza the wrong way.
Crust first.
If flaunting it was the game, Trump was the name.
My new game is Trump, the game.
Because it's not whether you win or lose, it's whether you win.
Governor, from the BBC in London, do you have any doubts about your ability to play the role of America's leading man?
Do I have any doubts about my ability to play the role of leading man in America? I've never thought of it that way. I left that profession. I have confidence, based on my experience as governor, that I can offer a better solution to the problems than either of the men who are running against me.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that together. Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We're going to build the wall. We have no choice. We have no choice. Build that wall. 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 Build that wall.
Fauci graduated first in his class at Cornell Medical College and joined the National Institutes of Health in 1968 to fulfill his military service during the Vietnam War. He was appointed Director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases in 1984.
I believe now that we have the agent in hand, that the amount of effort and energy that's being put into it by biomedical sciences, that within a reasonable period of time we'll have a lot of these answers.
Fauci is no stranger to leading the federal response to public health crisis. His career spanned 6 presidents and over 30 years of research. In the 1980s, his career heavily focused on the HIV/AIDS crisis.
I'm working directly on AIDS, both clinically and from a basic science standpoint.
He cared for dying patients, met with patient advocates, and has helped shape initiatives to end HIV in the United States.
Unique idea. Dana, I'm awfully glad to have had this opportunity to talk to you because I enjoyed especially 2 of your pictures so wonderfully much. The Johnny Belinda and Lost Weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And in Johnny Belinda, of course, you didn't say anything.
No.
That must have been very difficult. It's like doing a television show, such as we are right now, in which the MC tells you to look at the camera all the time instead of him. And I know you have the same feelings, or else you can't talk. You're hung up in the air.
Well, we use another language, which is just as universal as the voice, and that's the hands, you see.
And I imagine, too, it took quite a bit of preparation.
Yes, we did. We prepared a long time for that.
How long did the picture take to shoot?
Well, not longer than 8 weeks, but I was working on it with the instructors and whatnot for about 5 months all told.
How often do you two talk?
Talk about once every 14 days. I have the direct number to White House, but I don't really want to call him there because Melania is there, and I don't want to cause any kind of jealousy or something like that because I'm basically first Trump wife, okay? I'm first lady, okay?
The family was shattered in 1989 when Trump's affair with Marla Maples became national news, splashed across the tabloids.
Marla Maples?
Well, I don't want to talk about the showgirl.
In fact, you don't even refer to her by name in your book.
Yes.
You just call her
showgirl.
The showgirl.
Yeah.
While gay artists came out of the closet in '84, gay activists were out on the streets, raising the alarm about a mysterious and deadly plague devastating their community, AIDS.
I was sick of burying people already. Everybody was sick. '84 was the year that they all started dying, though.
As of today's date in 1984, there have been some 6,350 cases of AIDS and 3,000 deaths reported to the CDC.
San Francisco Bay Area musicians Huey Lewis and the News took early action against the AIDS crisis, helping to raise funds to fight the disease.
It was thought of as a strictly gay disease, and it was important to remove the stigma from that. And we felt we were obviously a heterosexual band, and it was important.
There was some hope. In April, scientists announced they had identified the virus that causes AIDS. Identifying the HIV virus was the first glimmer of optimism in the desperate search for a cure. But attempts to raise public awareness about AIDS were often met with a deafening silence.
Back to the negative.
Back to the negative.
Back to the. You know what? Do this interview with somebody else.
Well, we talked about this yesterday on the phone. This is exactly what we talked about.
Do the interview with somebody else. Really.
I think it's very unfair reporting. Good luck.
I disagree with you. Sorry you feel that way.
It's a special month, a time when we bundled our children off to school,
to the warmth of an environment in which they could fulfill the promise and hope in those restless minds. But so much has happened over these last years, so much to shake the foundations of all that we know and all that we believe in. Today, there's a drug and alcohol abuse epidemic in this country, and no one is safe from it. Not you, not me, and certainly not our children, because this epidemic has their names written on it.
I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. Hey, when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
Senator Fulbright has said at Stanford University that the Constitution is outmoded. He referred to the president as our moral teacher and our leader. And he says he is hobbled in his task by the restrictions of power imposed on him by this antiquated document. He must be freed so that he can do for us what he knows is best. And Senator Clark of Pennsylvania, another articulate spokesman, defines liberalism as meeting the material needs of the masses through the full power of centralized government. Well, I, for one, resent it when a representative of the people refers to you and me, the free men and women of this country, as the masses. This is a term we haven't applied to ourselves in America. But beyond that, the full power of centralized government, this was the very thing the Founding Fathers sought to minimize. They knew that governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose.
My administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
The environment? Yes, I feel as strongly as anyone about the preservation of the environment. When we took office, we found that the national parks were so dirty and contained so many hazards, lack of safety features, that we stopped buying additional parkland until we had rectified this with what was to be a 5-year program, but it's just about finished already, $1 billion, and now we're going back to budgeting for additional lands for our parks. But I'm running on the record of what we have asked for. We'll continue to try and get things that we didn't get in a program that has already brought the rate of spending of government down from 17% to 6.1%. A program of returning authority and autonomy to the local and state governments that has been unjustly seized with the federal government. And you might find those words in a Democratic platform of some years ago. I know because I was a Democrat at that time. And I left the party eventually because I could no longer follow the turn in the Democratic leadership that took us down an entirely different path, a path of centralizing authority in the federal government, lacking trust in the American people.
We had a president that was watching an entire population of the United States die and seemingly not care. I mean, he made quite a fuss over Legionnaire's disease and didn't seem to care very much about this other disease.
As long as the disease was identified primarily with gay men and IV drug users, you are talking about the Republican Party here, and they don't look at those people as their constituency.
They simply made the decision not to take on AIDS. It was a very painful decision for my community and, in retrospect, a painful position for the world.
As a mother and as First Lady, it concerns me that in today's fast-paced and ever-connected world, children can be less prepared to express or manage their emotions, and oftentimes turn to forms of destructive or addictive behavior such as bullying, drug addiction, or even suicide. So today, I'm very excited to announce Be Best, an awareness campaign dedicated to the most valuable and fragile among us, our children.
We in Britain think you are a wonderful president. We share so many of the same goals and a determination to achieve them, which you summed up so well and alas, I cannot imitate this wonderful American English accent. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Marla and the Donald, married at last, but not without some drama.
I think it was a little bit surprising. We really anticipated getting married and having a baby, not having a baby and getting married.
So why didn't you marry her right away when you found out she was pregnant? Why did you
Indecision.
wait? Indecision.
Really indecision.
I was like, you're destroying my reputation again here. You know, it's already happened once and just loving you. Look what happened just because I loved you. And now, you know, not to be married before you have the baby? Oh my God.
But in terms of the personal life, to me, it's a more difficult decision. You know, it's in many respects a much bigger decision.
Well, it's an irrevocable deal.
Well, it really is. In theory, it's an irrevocable deal.
But I want to know your opinion. You're the President of the United States.
It's enough. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I read of one man with AIDS who returned to work to find anonymous notes on his desk with such messages as, "Don't use our water fountain." I was told of a situation in Florida where 3 young brothers, ages 10, 9, and 7, were all hemophiliacs carrying the AIDS virus. The pastor asked the entire family not to come back to their church. Ladies and gentlemen, this is old-fashioned fear, and it has no place in the home of the brave. The Public Health Service has stated that there's no medical reason for barring a person with the virus from any routine school or work activity. There's no reason for those who carry the AIDS virus to wear a scarlet A. AIDS is not casually contagious disease.
My first question is, you said that you don't take responsibility, but you did disband the White House Pandemic Office, and the officials that were working in that office left this administration abruptly. So what responsibility do you take to that? And the officials that worked in that office said that the White House lost valuable time because that office wasn't disbanded. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think it's a question, because what we've done is, and Tony has said numerous times that we've saved thousands of lives because of the quick closing.
This is a bad virus. Certainly it is conceivable that if we don't do that, you could get as bad as Italy. But I don't think we're going there if we do the kinds of things that we are publicly saying we need to do. We need to be very serious about. For a while, life is not going to be the way it used to be in the United States. We have to just accept that if we want to do what's best for the American public.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. I would like you to speak to the medical doctors to see if there's any way that you can apply light and heat to cure. You know, if you could, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. Again, I say maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not a doctor, but I'm like a person that has a good, you know what.
There may and likely will come a time in which we have both an airborne disease that is deadly. And in order for us to deal with that effectively, we have to put in place an infrastructure, not just here at home, but globally, that allows us to see it quickly, isolate it quickly, respond to it quickly. So that if and when a new strain of flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up 5 years from now or a decade from now, we've made the investment. And we're further along to be able to catch it. It is a smart investment for us to make. It's not just insurance, it is knowing that down the road, we're going to continue to have problems like this, particularly in a globalized world, where you move from one side of the world to the other in a day. So this is important now, but it's also important for our future and our children's future and our grandchildren's future.
President, today the U.S. hit a grim milestone of 1 million cases of the coronavirus. Back in late February, you predicted that the number of cases would go down to 0. How did we get from your prediction of 0 to 1 million?
Well, it will go down to 0 ultimately. And you have to understand, when it comes to cases, we do much more testing than anybody else. So we could go to some of these other countries, you know, as an example, China. If you test, you're going to show many more cases. So we're doing more testing than any other country in the world by far, which we just discussed over in the Oval Office. So we're going to show more cases because we're doing much, much more testing, double anybody else. Somebody said if you add everybody else combined, that would be a number.
You have said that success is a kind of drug, and it's too powerful for most people to handle. How do you handle success?
Well, a lot of people can't handle success. I've seen it. A lot of people can't win. They don't know how to win. You see it in sports where they're right on the threshold of win, and then they can't get it over the line. It's an amazing thing. Winning is tough. I always said winning is somewhat maybe innate. Maybe it's just something you have. You know, you have the winning gene, but I've seen it. I've seen great talent, both in business and lots of other things. They should be able to do it, and they can't get the ball over the line.
You are a winner?
I think so. I mean,
I'm looking around. Yeah, there's a lot of gold here.
I've done pretty well.
In that
Right?
sense.